Hey everyone, welcome to this tutorial on Shy by Kieran Daniel, aka Kieran Murphy. Let's get the usual stuff out of the way first. The full lesson is split up into several parts and only the first part will be released on YouTube. For full access, you can check out my website or my Patreon page. Both offer different perks at different pricing points, so there should be something for everyone. If you want the tab and notation file, then do head over to the website, look up the song and click on the music notes icon. That way you'll get a 20% discount. No account or login is necessary to do this. The name Kieran Daniel might not ring a bell for everyone, but the name Kieran Murphy will probably be familiar with people who followed Tommy Emmanuel from early on in his career, about 15 years ago to be precise. Around that time, Kieran was one of the most promising young fingerstyle players to pop up in the wake of Tommy's rise to fame, alongside other new talent like Andrea Valeri, who is already a friend of the channel. After touring the world as a support act for Tommy Emmanuel, he studied music at Berklee in Boston, focusing on songwriting and producing. After graduating, he turned his attention to other matters and didn't work in the music business for several years. And for a lot of people, he dropped off the radar completely. But luckily for us, he decided to return a few years ago. This comeback was paired with a name change, and Kieran Murphy can now be found on most platforms under the name Kieran Daniel. The song we are looking at today appears on the album Per Se, released in 2007 when he was just 17 years old. Kieran is also restarting his social media channels, so if you want to hop over and pump up his subscriber count a bit more, I'm sure he would appreciate it. On to the song itself. I decided to do a lesson on this song after one of my longtime Patreons played it for me during a private lesson. I thought it was one of the most catchy and melodic songs I had heard in a long time. So thanks a lot, Nick. And the good news is, this song was the first fingerstyle song that Patreon, ever learned to play. So it should be playable for everyone, even if you are just starting out in this style. It certainly does not compare to your average Tommy Emmanuel song in terms of difficulty. It is a lot easier. The lesson is long because Kieran uses the thumb over the side of the neck very often, and I have to go over a lot of alternative fingerings to get around that. Advanced players can probably play this one just by looking at the summary at the end of each part, and more novice players can go through the whole explanation just to make sure they don't miss anything important. This first part covers the intro, and I can imagine a lot of people splitting this in half and only playing the last part, the last 8 bars, just so they can get to the chorus more quickly, because that is where the fun starts. Okay, let's get to work then. The guitar is in standard tuning and I'm using a capo on the 2nd fret. Now, my guitar is in standard tuning. Kieran's guitar is actually tuned down a half step, and then he uses also the capo on the 2nd fret. So I'm just going to keep the capo on the 2nd fret to use the exact same chord fingerings as he is doing. But if you want to play along in the exact same key, you will have to tune down the guitar or just simply move the capo down to the 1st fret. Kieran is also using a thumb pick. Now that can be up for debate in this song, as you do need the thumb a lot. There is a lot of thumb work in this song, but there is nothing that really requires the use of a thumb pick. So if you're not comfortable with a thumb pick at all, just leave it out. The song will sound fine without it. That being said, I'm going to dive straight into the intro, as always well below the original speed, so you can have a first good look of what is going on. Here we go, the intro. A minor chord is the first chord of the first, let's call it the chorus. The intro makes use of bassless voicings. This is something that is quite common in jazz music. The first few chords are a D minor ninth chord, and the bass note or the root note would actually be here. So D minor ninth. Then moving over to G dominant 13. Again, the bass note or the root note would be here on the 12th fret on the A string. And then moving over to C major ninth. Again, the root note would be here on the 8th fret on the low E string. So D minor to G dominant to C major ninth. And then afterwards he does the same thing. D minor on the 10th fret with 2 open strings on top. Again moving to G dominant, again with 2 open strings on top, and again moving to a C chord with the thumb over the side of the neck, but it's also possible just to use the index finger. Makes no difference at all. The picking pattern, the bar is on the D string, G string, B string, and then you need the 12th fret on the high E string. With the capo on the guitar, that high up the neck, it's going to be easier just to aim for the 12th fret with the bar, and then the ring finger on the 14th fret, right? If you're using a 14th fret guitar or a guitar where the body joins the neck on the 14th fret, then it's just a ring finger right up next to the part where the body joins the neck. You pick up and down, D string, G string, B string, G string. You can do this with the thumb pick, index finger, middle finger, index finger, and then high E string, 12th fret, and straight back down the arpeggio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. The index finger drops down 1 fret to the 9th fret. The middle finger takes over for the bar on the G string and the B string, and the pinky takes over on the 14th fret on the high E string. Same arpeggio. Exactly the same thing. Apart from the very last note, instead of returning to the D string, you're going to repick the high E string and now move down the pinky 2 frets to the 12th fret. So those first 2 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 to the 12th fret. Now I'm picking every note. There are versions where you can hear that Kieran slides around and now doesn't repick but just slides down to the 9th fret. Same arpeggio, and then slides down that pinky to the 10th fret as well. So instead of repicking each note, you can add a few slides as well. Then on that C major 9th chord, middle finger, ring finger on the 9th fret, the index finger on the 8th fret, and then the pinky on the 10th fret on the D string, G string, B string, and the high E string. And again, you come down from that previous arpeggio. 1, 2, 3, 4, quarter note, 1, and then just a full chord in the last bar. So those 2 bars on the C chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing else happens in that bar. And now those first 4 bars all the way through. Next 4 bars, middle finger 10th fret on the low E string, ring finger 10th fret on the D string, pinky 10th fret on the G string, and 2 open strings on top. Thinking only in the first chord, you're only going to use the open E string. Low E string, D string, G string, D string, 1 and 2 and 3, open E string on top, back to the D string, and then back to the G string. 1, 2, 3, 4, back to the low E string. Then you switch around, the ring finger jumps over from the D string to the A string, again on the 10th fret, and you drop down the middle finger on the 9th fret on the D string. So and then you get 10th fret, 9th fret, 10th fret, and 2 open strings. So the arpeggio on the D chord, one more time. You end up on the G dominant chord, exactly the same arpeggio. A string, D string, G string, D string, open E string, D string, and back to the G string. And apparently you don't need that open B string. So sorry, my mistake. So you only need an open E string on top. Those 2 arpeggios back to back. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Reach with the index finger to the 7th fret and then move up to the 8th fret for the C chord. You're keeping that index finger on the 8th fret, low E string, then ring finger 10th fret on the D string, middle finger 9th fret on the G string, and you need an open E string on top as well. Bass note, D string, open E string, D string, and then G string. And that note on the G string and the open E string are the exact same thing. 1, E string, G string, back to the E string, and then a chord using D string, G string, and high E string. So basically only 2 different notes because those 2 top notes are the same thing. The arpeggio on the C chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And all the way at the end of that bar, you play an open E string and you move into the 2nd section of the intro. Those last 4 bars all the way through, starting on the D minor chord. To the F chord, we'll more on that in just a second. First, those first 8 bars all the way through. Two, 3, 4. To an F chord. Kieran uses the thumb over the side of the neck, on the 1st fret, and he's going for F sus2, meaning you only need the pinky on the 3rd fret on the D string, an open G string, and then the index finger on the 1st fret of the B string. This is how he plays the chord. It's also perfectly possible to play it with the index finger, pinky, and middle finger as well. Then you have index finger down below on the 1st fret, pinky 3rd fret on the D string, and the middle finger 1st fret on the B string. You play an open E string and then on the 1st beat, bass notes, D string, open G string, D string, and then an open E string on top as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the full arpeggio. E string, D string, G string and B string at the same time, and back to the D string. 1, 2, 3, open E string on top, back to the D string, B string, and an open G string all the way at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing with the index finger and the middle finger. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now whatever option you pick, this fingering or with the thumb over the side of the neck, you slide everything up 2 frets. 3rd fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret, still with the open G string in the middle there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. As you slide up, you pick the bass note and everything else will sort of sound out from that previous chord. So just moving up. just pick E string, D string, G string, B string, just the arpeggio going all the way down. Then you remove the thumb altogether, open E string, and the same arpeggio going up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and back to the F chord. So those 2 bars all the way through with the thumb over the side of the neck. Same thing without the thumb, with the index finger. And now whatever option you pick, you just play the exact same thing 3 times in a row. Very last time, only the last chord changes, that is all. So first time. Time. Third time. And now the last time, Kieran reaches over for the 4th fret with the middle finger on the low E string, pinky to the 6th fret on the D string, and he slides that up to the 7th fret and ends up on an open B string. 1, 2, 3, 4, and he lets go of that middle finger to really end up on that last melody note before playing the first chord of the chorus. This is actually easier if you're using the index finger on the low E string. So the exact same thing. Now you can just move up the index finger, and it's even a little bit easier to hold on to the bass note if you want to. But that is the exact same thing we're playing. So let's say those 6 bars all the way through. So starting with the thumb over the side of the neck. And Kieran always slows down and picks back up. Back. And ending up in the A minor chord. One more time with the index finger. Into the A minor chord. That was the full intro. One more time, all the way through with the magnet on the guitar, so you can have a good look at what is happening in the picking hand. Here we go. And that was the full intro. There are already some choices to make here. Take all the time you need to get this down before you continue to the chorus. For people watching on YouTube, if you want to continue the lesson, then this is where you have to switch over to my Patreon page or my website. I'll see you there.